Also, LL, yeah, we gotta schedule that chat calls. No, I don't know how far you is into the show right now, but yeah, we already talked about that. We really do need to talk about that. We really need to find a way to get um
You can do a panel type thing. You just have to plan it ahead. It's like, hey, these are the 4 people you'll have on your panel,
yeah, we're gonna
and
work.
you can do that. Yeah, we can put something together. And then, like for this one right here, learn life. How many black supporters do I know? Like two. And one of them is a relative. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people, but hey, whatever. You know, they're so far in the margins that they don't really matter. And then you got how many Trump supporters? Oh, boy. First of all, I know far too many. I'll
I
put
would
it
say
that way.
I'm gonna be
Far
honest
too
with
many.
you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be totally honest with you with what I says, and we're gonna move on. I don't know any personally. That's but here's the funny thing about it is that's not a good thing because of my employment. We are so far from never ever discussing politics that I literally could be passing a Trump supporter like every 10 seconds. But
Nah, just get them in a moment, and like it'll just like kind of eke
that's why I
out a
say the
little bit.
moment would never come up. The moment would never ever come up because it's like, uh, I like Trump, but I like paying my light bill. Did you watch that game
Yeah,
last night? That was a good game last night.
yeah.
It's like
Don't get into these
they're not
conversations
good.
at work. Don't get into them at work because I swear they scary, man, when they happen. But when I say, all right, so you said no, they aren't on the margins. Here's why I say they're on the margins. All right, I'm gonna run through it real quick from my perspective. The black population in America, African American population, because that's what I'm thinking of when you ask me about black people. I don't know how Africans move. I don't know how some of the Caribbeans move. But we're 13% of the population. Even if you swelled into those other groups, it might take you into maybe 15, 16% of the population. That by itself already puts you in the margins. Then the black population, that voting population, we vote like 95-ish percent for the Democrats. So now we talking 5% of the 14, 15%, definitely out in the margin. So even if you rounded up all the black Trump voters, mathematically, they're outliers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I just can't spend the energy there on them.
Wait a
It's
minute.
disappointing
Wait
that
a
they're
minute,
doing
LL,
it.
are you asking would the margins of black voters would affect the election? I'm
No,
just
it was just a
asking.
conversation. It was just a conversation in the comments saying how many do we
Yeah.
know? And I said, and then when I was
Oh,
responding, I said that they're in the margin. But no,
um,
but that's kind of how I look at that part. And and at the end of the day, people gonna vote how they vote. Usually, these people that are in the targeted out groups that still vote for Trump and Trumpism, these are people who are reacting emotionally, and they are your, as we say, pick me. They are the ones who are jockeying for the few positions of relative privilege. These are the ones that, and hey, they get mad at me, and I don't give a damn. But these are the ones that will say that basically are acknowledging that the oppression is coming or is here. So let me at least get the best seat in the bad section. Let me at least be the one that gets to move with those who are in power. I may not have the same level of respect from these people. I may be in relative danger, but I'll be useful. So when they need a black talking head to go out there and do the Paris Denard thing or do the Candace Owens thing, they have someone to call on. And there's only a few who are ever really available. So if you count them up, there's probably maybe 20, 25 personalities at any given time. But if you're one of those, you are gonna be okay financially,
Candace
right?
Owens,
And that's what they're jockeying for. You
Candace
know,
Owens,
they
Tim
want
Scott, the guy that got hit with the egg. Um,
you got Larry Elder,
Larry
you
Elder, that was the
got
guy that got hit with the egg. Um,
you know, there's a whole stub of them, but there's not that many of them. You
no,
know,
and that's the
they
funny
may
thing about
look
it.
like
And I
it's a
want to
lot
make
because
this
they keep putting
perfectly
them in front of you.
clear. I want to make something perfectly clear. I want y'all to pay attention to something really clearly.
Oh,
So
I see
y'all
what you mean. Learn life. Yeah, they're not on the margins. They're about a good. They keep saying on the news 30%. Nah, these
no.
jokes are like 80% of the Republican Party.
And that's what I mean. I want you to pay attention to something. I want you to literally pay attention to something because I saw a Fox video that I'm not going to show on this show, but it was just it just come to my attention. Somebody sent me a video that came to my attention. Is they're treating these people as allowers. I literally know I just made up a damn word, but that's the only word I can come up with. Because they only march them out on BS situations. The situation that I was talking about, the guy that killed all the people at the Dollar General down in Jacksonville. And who do you march out? You march out a black person. And you march out that black person to, yeah, it was bad. But the Biden administration, see, that's what they're there for.
That's what they're for.
That's what they're there for. They always going to have the agenda. And remember, I've always said on this show, and I got to stop saying that because there's a lot of viewers who don't know that I've always said this. It is a lot of people who does this. They have an answer first. Then they have to construct the questions. So regardless of the situation of, well, this was really terrible to the black community that a white person who flat out said that they hate black people and they want to kill black people, and then they went out and killed black people with swastikas on their guns. So how can we twist this? Well, the answer is Biden.
Well,
pick a Biden. And this is the funny. Hold on, Theo. I got to finish this real quick. Pick a Biden because it really doesn't matter. Joe or Hunter, it really doesn't matter. But that's the answer already. So now we have to skew the story so we can get to Joe and or Hunter Biden. F the tragedy. I have to come up with every answer that goes to that answer. And that's when they march them out. As long as that's not an issue, they're not needed. Now, this is why I said what I said. Look at the timing of all of it. You'll see that same guy to sit there and turn that Jacksonville terrorist attack. Watch the next time he shows up and what the subject is. The time between what he reported and the event that's being reported on. It's called being a house, and I don't use that word on here, but people who is from my lifestyle knows exactly what I mean. The more PG part of it is all skin folks ain't kin folks. But back in my day,
right,
it was
so
house.
okay, all right. I agree with what you're going with. I gotta speak up for the house Negroes of the past here. Now I know, granted, I'd be in the field gladly. I burn the whole fucking house down, everybody else in it, and then chase down your dog too. But just because they were in the house didn't mean they were traitors, right? We use them as a symbol of privilege and proximity to whiteness. And, oftentimes they would be your pick-me's, right? They're going to choose protect the master over the people in the field, right? We know the story. But overwhelmingly, the house Negro, remember, they were still a slave. Remember, they were still subject to being beaten, and especially if you were a female house Negro, you were constantly subject to rape. So it wasn't no picnic, and they weren't all our enemies. But I do follow the point. Now, Tracy asked a question in here. Well, why did Trump get more of a percentage of black voters the second time run? The reason why he got more voters is because the Democratic Party has been negligent towards the black community for ever since the switch in the 60s. So what has happened is after 60 years of watching the party make not even promises, suggestions that they would promise to do something and not following through, you are seeing more and more disaffected voters. And a big part of those disaffected voters are the black male voters. And the reason why you're seeing more and more of that is because what Trump was speaking to is the tie that binds. It is about economics and it's about grievance. So if you tie into economics and you tie into grievance, you are now able to tap into any disaffected group. Why are the black women much more prevalent in the black voter rolls for the Democrats? Because while they are black and they are also dealing with the economic struggles of this country, they are on an accelerating plane. The black male is on a decelerating plane. As criminal justice and all that bullshit, mass incarceration has continued to wreak havoc on our community, more and more black men are facing prison than they are facing college. So, yeah, you're going to have a lot more non-college educated black voters who happen to be male, who happen to be looking at who is talking at least something that recognizes my pain. So they've been pulling off the margin. But those margins, again, very small. It's a soundbite that is really a tool of the conservative party. Because what did they get in that second term versus the first term? They moved off of roughly 3 to 5% to something akin to 5 to 7%. That is not any major movement, but it's cast as such so that the black man and the black woman can go at odds with each other, the male and the female can go at odds with each other. That it's just a talking point to distract and move more people towards so-called independent, so-called third party, or so-called I'm just gonna sit at home because ain't nobody here for me no way. What makes life so hard for someone like myself who is not all about the Democrats, I'm about black people, is we have to focus on how do we move issues and how do we build alliances with the people that we need to build alliances with to move the ball forward. And that's very hard to do the more disgruntled and frustrated people become, because as they further and further get more upset, they're not trying to listen to anything anyone's saying. Long answer to your question, because it was a layered question.